Hey guys, welcome to Production Possibilities Frontier Part 1. If you're looking at this video, you're probably early on in a Principles of Econ class, because that's where this usually gets taught. Now, what is the PPF, or the Production Possibilities Frontier, PPF? What is it going to show us? It's going to show us two different goods or uses of our resources, or however you want to think of it, and compare them to each other. Now, I'm doing an example with student study time. They can either study for Econ or they can study for English. And that's it. That's all they're going to do with a given amount of time. And these students face a trade-off, which by definition here, I mean, this is just going to be like, I study for this one or I study for that one. It's going to be a straight line, where every hour I study English is an hour I can't study Econ, and vice versa. So let's get a little bit formal. What is opportunity cost? Okay, I'm not going to get formal. I don't like the textbook definitions because they make a lot of big words that confuse new students. They'll talk about like foregone benefits of the best alternative of like blah, blah, blah. Read your textbook if you want one of those. My version of it is it's the cost of what you give up in order to do what you're doing. So in our example, it's that an hour spent studying Econ costs an hour that could have been spent on English. Now, I'm going to do a pretty simple example. I'm going to assume that our student, most of their day is already booked, but they have 8 hours with which they can study to cram for their finals. That's all they've got left. And the student has to choose how much of their time to spend studying. And so they're going to face some trade-offs. For instance, a student could choose a point where they spend 6 hours studying English and 2 hours studying Econ. Now this point, we'll call it point A, is one that uses all 8 hours of my day, of my available study time. And so point A is actually going to be efficient because there is no way to help Econ without hurting English, and vice versa. But this student doesn't have to do it this way. They could also choose to instead study like this, where they studied maybe 1 hour of English and 7 hours of Econ. We'll call this point B, and point B is also efficient. Why? Because the student is using all available study hours for studying. If you use all of your resources, we call that efficient. Now, there's a whole different discussion on what is optimal, like how much English, how much Econ. Save that for some utility maximization and optimization stuff later. Let's start a little slower, okay? We're just in principles. Now, let's talk about two other points we could have. I could also have a point that looks something a little bit more like this, where maybe I spend 3 hours studying for Econ and 3 hours studying for English. And this point C is inefficient because it doesn't use all of my resources. I have 8 hours to study for my final, and I'm only using 6 of them. It would be easy for me to increase my studying in Econ without hurting English, or to increase my studying in English without hurting in Econ, or to move over here and increase both. Point C is not helpful when finals roll around. It's inefficient. It's a waste of my resources and my time. Now, the last kind of point I want to highlight for you, let's do something like this, 8 and 8. This point D, something outside of our production possibilities. Well, D is not feasible, which means I only have 8 hours available. I can't possibly spend 8 hours for one class and 8 hours for the other. I don't have that many hours. And so we can get some basic rules of thumb. Anything along the PPF, tracing this black line, will be efficient. It's using all of your hours one way or the other. So points A and B are efficient. Anything inside the black line in this triangle down here is inefficient because you're leaving resources unused. You know, maybe you're like watching something on Netflix instead of studying, because that's what some students do for their finals. And anything out here in point D is just not there for you at this time, not unless you quit your job or something. So there's a quick crash course to our PPF and what's efficient and what's not. Lastly, let's talk about opportunity cost. So I gave you this definition of opportunity cost, that it's what you have to give up in order to get something. I want to formalize that a little bit in some math so that we can say that the opportunity cost of studying econ is equal to the change in English study hours divided by the change in econ study hours. Now the end result of this is going to be some sort of measurement of of English hours per econ hour. Now, I already told you this one's constant. It's going to be 1 for 1. I will do an example in part 2 where the opportunity cost changes between two uses of our resources. But for this one, it'll be simple because it'll help us verify if we got it right. So from point A to point B, the change in English hours is 1 at point B, minus 6 at point A is minus 5. 1 minus 6 is negative 5. From point A to point B, the change in econ hours is 7 minus 2 is 5. So our opportunity cost of econ is minus 5 English hours divided by 5 econ hours. Now I'm going to combine the units here real quick. Actually, that's minus 5 over 5 English hours per econ hour, which then simplifies to minus 1 English hour per econ hour. What does that mean? Every additional econ hour costs me 1 English hour. This should always come out negative because one will reduce the other. In this case, there's a 1-to-1 trade-off. All right, that was hopefully helpful to you. If not, look around on YouTube. There's like a million more of these. Yeah, this is a very common model that you'll see a lot. I hope this was helpful to you. If so, maybe like it or subscribe or something, because I have lots of other econ videos and maybe you'll find them helpful too. So thanks for watching, guys. Take it easy. Happy econing.